All right, class, I wanted to show you lab 8. So this is a bigger lab, a little bit longer, so I've given you a little bit more time for this. Pay attention when you do this, because I don't want you to get overwhelmed with some things. If you come in here and just turn on the Dynamic Earth KMZ, you're going to get some issues. So don't just turn the whole thing on. So we'll leave that off and open it up and hit that arrow, and we'll get different options down here. So it's actually quite cool. See what we can do here. And so you can turn these things on one by one as you want to. You can do the plate boundaries, as you can see boundaries. But within this lab, and so notice within this, you've got boundaries, you've also got labels. So if you don't want the labels on, just turn the labels off. If you only want a specific label on, like if you happen to be interested down here and you only wanted to have the Manus boundary, you can go here, turn these off, and then you go down here and find Manus. Let's see if we can find it. There's so many of them. I think I passed it. Then you can just select that individual one and turn that label on if that's what you want. So just, you're getting more and more familiar with Google Earth and how this works. If we want to keep them all on, we turn them all on there. Okay. So we'll minimize that. Let's turn off the boundaries as well. Let's go to seismicity here, which is quite fascinating. So where are the earthquakes happening? All right, this is a lot of information, right? Too much for at once. Let's turn all of that off. Let's go 20 years of large earthquakes. Okay, so here we've got all these locations of earthquakes. If you're interested in an individual one, you can mouse over, click on it, and you can get some information from it. Okay, turn that off. Let's do the real-time earthquakes. Okay, so this is probably not working for yours. So this is something that you're gonna need to update. But let me show you how to do it. It's actually very easy. So right-click this USGS real-time earthquakes colored by depth and go to properties. On properties here, we've got this. I told you to go to the wrong one. You want to go to last week earthquakes colored by that. Okay. So if we turn that off, this turns off. We can turn that on, and here, this is the file that we want to edit. So last week of earthquakes colored by depth. We're going to go to properties of this one. Excuse me. Okay. Here we've got the link. This is actually going online to the USGS website, pulling data and updating it in Google Earth. So we can leave this open, and I want you to Alt-Tab to a web browser. You can either hit Alt-Tab or you can go down. I've got Chrome. I'm going to go to Chrome. Okay, USGS KML last week earthquakes is the search that I typed in here. You may not have to get that specific, but that definitely works. We're going to use this first one. We want to go to USGS Earthquake Hazards Program. Select that. On the right-hand side, we've got automatic feeds. If you choose a static feed, it's not going to update. So you want to make sure you choose the automatic feed. And so you can do the last week. Let's Alt-Tab back to Google Earth and see what that says. Last week of earthquakes colored by depth. So let's go back, Alt-Tab again. Last 7 days of earthquakes colored by depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right-click, and I'm going to copy link address. Don't click on it because you don't want to download the file. You want to just copy the link address. Now we're going to, with that copied, we're going to go back to our Google Earth. And then here, you can either click Browse and right-click it and paste it in here. That works. Okay. It's going to go, and might take a while. It should load up. The other option is just to double-click all of this, and then I hit Control-V, and then paste it in there. It does the same thing, it's just a little faster to do it this way. Then we select OK. It takes a second, and now you may not have had this legend, but now you should have it. And now we've got the last week of earthquakes. And here we go, USGS magnitude 1 or larger earthquakes in the past week. And if we go back to our USGS website, you can see that's exactly what we downloaded. Past 7 days, magnitude 1 or greater earthquakes. This is updated every minute. That's pretty cool. So if you wanted to add additional feeds in there, you could. Let's add a different one in. Let's add the past 30 days of only magnitude of 2.5 or larger. We'll do colored by depth. So this one here, let's do it animated. We'll do it by depth and make it animated. We'll see the kind of the difference that there is. All right, I'm going to right click and I'm going to save that link as. That means I'm actually going to save the file. And so for me, I'm going to put it in my documents. I'm going to put it in Summer of 20 and this one here. So let's go ahead and just save it here as a 2.5 month depth animated link. And if you're not sure, if you have a lot of files in here saved, here's a trick. You can do AAA, and that'll bring it to the top. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Notice down here it downloaded. That's great. So you could just double click on this, and that's going to pull it up into your Google Earth. Notice here it's got it opened up a new folder called earthquakes. So let's scroll down and see what we got. Okay, let's turn off this other one. And we'll scroll back down. We got earthquakes. What do we get? 2.5 for the last month. Okay, let's see if we can see any. You see any? Oh wait, remember we said we wanted it to be a animation. Notice how we've got the time up top? So we can actually just click over and it's going to scroll over and we should see some. We don't see as many as there was on the other file. I wonder why. Well, remember this is 2.5. That's quite a bit bigger than 1. If you keep this little icon open, it's going to keep all of them on as you play. It's going to not turn them off as you play it. So let's scroll around. Oh, we see a couple that happen down here. And as we move it forward, we'll see those. If you want to just have a shorter window that you can see, just do that, and then you can scroll it back and forth. All right. Looks like we had quite a few that happened at this location right here. So quite a lot of activity in this area. Let's see how much. As I scroll that back, we've got all that activity. Okay, so this could be where a plate is actually coming in contact with another one. But isn't that pretty neat that you can have an animation and see where all the earthquakes are happening? Okay, so part of this lab is to do that and to just check out earthquakes. I think it's quite fascinating. I play around with this way too much. Okay, so you see a plate. Another part of this lab that I'm asking you to do is to create a path. And so I'm going to do this one for you here. And I'm going to do it from Australia to across the Pacific Ocean all the way to California. So what the lab asks you to do is to create a path. So I'm just going to do a path and click one there and click the other one over there and it does a straight line. If you happen to draw, okay, I'm going to hit OK. I want to make another path. If you happen to do this and you click and hold it, you can make a curvy path. So you've got a ton of points on there. That may not be exactly what you wanted to do. You can get rid of those. You've highlighted it and just right click and it deletes it. Notice that it's not deleting that one, it's making it shorter from the end. Oh man, that takes a long time. So you may just wanna cancel, get rid of that. All right, so we'll go back to this other path that we created. It's called Untitled Path. So we could change the name of that to Australia to Cali. All right, that way I know what it's called, you know, and we can reference it later. Let's go ahead and open that up, right click it, show elevation profile. Here we go. Now that's pretty cool. This is showing the depth of the ocean all the way through. Notice as you mouse over the graph at the bottom, you see an indicator on the path that you created, and you can show, well, looks like there's an island right here. What is that? Okay. Kind of got it there. You got to get off of your graph, but we can see it's about right in the middle. I'm looking at it. I'm going to go back up and I'm just going to zoom in and see what this area is. Oh yeah, it looks like we crossed an island. Not sure what island this is. What is this? Well, if you don't know, go ahead and turn on places over in your layers and it'll give things names. All right, let's zoom out and see what set of islands is this? Does it say? Oh, wait, we didn't turn on borders and labels. We can actually turn places off and do borders and labels, and that's what we want. Oh, it's Tama. What set of islands is this? South of Marshall Islands. Okay, some Polynesian island. So you can see, as I zoom in further, it tells you what that is. Okay, so that reef went up 7 feet. And the island's only 7 feet above sea level and drops off again. Okay, pretty neat. So we can actually get a profile from one continent to the other. And you can kind of see in the middle. So I just happened to zoom in on that one section because I thought it was interesting to see what it crossed. And we can see other places. Well, it looks like we know that there was a hot spot here. You know what would be interesting? Let's turn this, our plates on and see where our plate boundaries actually occur with this. Anything? Wait, there's no plates here. I wonder how all this happened. Let's see, what else do we have? Plate labels. Well, that's just a big Pacific plate. Ooh, let's turn on, okay, we'll turn this plate boundaries off. Let's turn on the seafloor age. Is that too much? That gives me a big red X. Well, I know that worked before. Do we have age labels working? Not so much. Okay, I'm gonna have to update that file for you guys. Anyway, you'll have a seafloor age, and you can see the varying colors as it shows from oldest to newest. It's pretty fascinating to see. All right. Oh, here's one. We got a volcanic chains of hotspot tracks. And look at this. All of these. So you'll be able to see what direction that plate's been moving and why it went from one way to the next. And so you can kind of account for why there's these elevation changes. Okay. So you'll have some lab inquiries to explain this. It's not across the Pacific. What it is, it's across the Atlantic from, from Africa to South America. So you'll do the same thing here that we did on the other side. As I showed you, you can make sure you get that arrow and you can make this larger if you want to. Notice here we've got a scale on the left-hand side. And what's over here? This is distance on the bottom, on the x-axis. So just wanted to point that out to you. Make sure that you can use that and you can discuss that in your image. So you want to include this? Well, first, if you want to turn it off, just exit out. If you want to turn it back on, how do we get that on there? Right-click your path that we made. Go to Show Elevation Profile. All right. If you want to zoom straight to that path, you can right-click it, do a snapshot view, and it'll take you there. Sometimes it takes a minute to pull to get you to that area, but it'll grab you there. Notice that my path. So if you find out that your path is not the right length, like I wanted to go all the way to Australia, because looky here, it just ends and it's still 1,000 feet underwater. Well, that's not what I wanted. So let's go ahead and go back to Oz to California and go to properties. So now we're back in the editing function of that. I can go grab that, just click on that, and I'll drop it to Australia. And there we go. And so all of this is saying this last portion, it needs to update. So if I hit OK, it should update. Let me turn this off and turn it back on. Sometimes we gets a little snaggy. Okay. So it's showing all of this is pretty much at just a little bit below or at sea level. And that kind of makes sense. Look what it is. It's not necessarily all reef, but a lot of it is. So this here, that's just, this portion here kind of arrowed out on me. And that's why I'm not asking you to do this side. But you can see over here, Great Barrier Reef. How big is that? Well, that's only 10 feet underwater. And then as you get closer, you'll see. So if you want to go check out a spot and see what this island is, you don't have to see on the map, just put it there, and slowly it's going to take you to where it is. Or if you click, it will definitely take you there. What's this section here? Got to give it a minute, and it'll load and take you to where this is, this little ridge. Okay. Got some more ridges. What happened here? So some other little hot spots. Give it a second. All right. If you have issues or if you want to go faster, double click. Note that the more files you have open on the left-hand side, the longer it will take. So just be aware of that. Anyway, this is pretty fun and it's pretty interesting to do. So remember, every time you enter an image into your lab report, you want to reference it in your text. And the way you reference it is you call it, according to image 1, as shown above, our elevation profile shows the center has a trough at 3,243 miles from Australia to California, something like that. Reference it. Don't just include the image as an answer to your question. You want to reference it and tell me why you included that picture. Use full sentences. All right, so we're getting better at using Google Earth, hopefully, and you're playing around with it. If you have questions, let me know, and I'll make sure to get this file updated. So good luck, and hang in there. We're almost to the end. All right, see you.